They were able to basically put this device on the heads of those operators and run through all of the site inspections, all of the troubleshooting, all of the commissioning, all of the training. They were able to conduct that in such an effective way, live, remotely, with groups of people on either end, in a way that wouldn't be possible with any other technology.
Welcome to UpTech Report. This is our Applied Tech series. UpTech Report is sponsored by Terraleap. Learn how to leverage the power of video at terraleap.io. Today, I'm joined by my guest, Ben Taft, who's based in LA, California. He's the co-founder and CEO of Mira. Welcome, Ben. Good to have you on.
Hey there. Thanks for having me.
Now, Mira, from what I understand, your site's a hands-free AR hardware and software solution meant to transform, as you say, the productivity and safety of global distributed workforces. And I think on your website, it says solutions designed for the deskless industrial workforce. Very interesting tagline, but help me understand, what was the problem that you guys saw and set out to solve?
Sure thing. So when we say deskless workforce, right, you and I were very used to working behind our desk. We're sitting on our desk right now. We're looking at a screen. We have Zoom up, and that's really what we're sort of used to. But funny enough, 80% of the global workforce does not work behind a desk like you and I are doing right now. They're typically out in the field, they're on a factory floor, they're in these environments that really power the backbone of the global economy that we sometimes fail to consider. And as a result, oftentimes technology that's really important and really transformative sometimes gets to those environments much later than it really should. Right? And augmented reality is one of those potential pieces of technology where you're offering a hands-free computing solution. So that means I'm wearing glasses right now, right? Imagine if these glasses are smart. They can show me content that I need to see when I need to see it. There's a camera on board that understands what I'm looking at. It can record what I'm doing. It can show it to somebody else remotely. All these capabilities that are designed in a hands-free way because, again, you're not at a desk. You're holding tools. You're working on things. You're up on a telephone pole. That's one of those pieces of technology that we find can really, really benefit those environments. But we wanted to close the gap in how quickly that technology gets delivered to and becomes available for those workers in those places who, frankly, are risking their lives sometimes in doing the work that they do every day.
So it's like technology, we're used to it. Those who are at a desk, we've got it right here. We've got our screens everywhere. I've got my VR headset right back there.
Right.
But those who are in the, as you say, deskless, where they're actually out there, the delay of the technology actually being in their hands is we're not there yet. But you're trying to change that. So help me understand, like, the adoption, though, because I mean, that's a big shift for any business leader who's saying, okay, tech, I love it, but really, I mean, how much is it going to cost? I mean, training wise, how are you overcoming that adoption curve?
I love those questions, and those questions were the impetus for starting Mira in the first place. Because the answer to those questions historically, especially with the technology that we're focused on, hands-free computing, augmented reality, and so forth, the answer to those questions, there's no good answer. It's costly, it's complex, it doesn't work out of the box. There's a lot of intense training required. Sometimes those devices aren't designed to or certified to work in those types of environments where it's raining or it's dusty. And for a plethora of even more reasons, that technology remains in a state of science fiction. Right. And you know, I think the conversation today is how are we sort of moving this technology out of science fiction and into real world applications. And before we went and started the company, we were concerned that this technology was too much in the science fiction world. And it was very simple for a company to maybe pick up a single device and try it out and run maybe a proof of concept. But for all of those complexities, aforementioned complexities, it was nearly impossible to bring that technology to scale and deliver it to enough people to create enough value to make an impact and for it to be simple enough and understandable enough for end users to actually want to go ahead and adopt it. And because that was the case, that's why we went and started Mira, because we want to say this technology is important and we understand how to make it simple, how to make it affordable, how to make it accessible, all the adjectives that really serve as almost antonyms to how you would describe the current technology solutions out there, right?
So if I try to give it from my perspective, how you tried to solve that is, all right, instead of building a whole nother or having to bring in another hardware solution, let's use an actual smartphone device. So that's like the brains, it's probably already there. And then you're just providing a a hat that uses reflection so that you see it, but then a camera on board. I'm probably doing a poor job of
that was one of the best descriptions of the technology I've heard in a long time. So kudos.
But it's the fact that smartphones are already there. So it's like,
that's right.
It's interesting approach. You're kind of just leveling it up to an AR approach.
That's exactly right. So think about what it means for the phones to be distributed. It means that this company and all these companies have already gone through the overhead of understanding how to procure and purchase these phones, how to secure them from a cybersecurity perspective, and get them issued to all these places and able to manage those devices in case somebody walks off with the phone, or if they need to shut down the phone. They figured out that capability. They figured out how to actually distribute applications and software to those phones and update them on a repeated basis. They know that the devices are incredibly secure because Apple makes them, right? It's hard to hack an Apple device. It just is. And end users know how to pick up an iPhone, swipe the screen up or slide to unlock, or all those types of things. Those are all of the things that have been already sort of handled and implemented over the past decade. And we're coming into your point and saying, well, let's just use that install base of devices, of cybersecurity, of IT infrastructure, of learned behavior, and let's, to your point, lever it up just into this augmented reality experience, right? So that's a huge shortcut that we've taken.
Now let's maybe look at the potential downsides. I'm gonna be a tough critic here. Like,
all right,
putting a phone on your head, isn't that kind of heavy? I mean,
that's a great question. Design is something we pay a lot of attention to. Ergonomics, the whole 9 yards, things that are sometimes overlooked in designing these devices. We come from a strong design background as founders. The program we were in had a very strong emphasis on design and human-centered design and so on and so forth. Two things. Number one is we've selected a very specific set of iPhones that are lightweight, yet powerful and affordable, that enable our form factor to still work. If we took the latest, I have this very heavy iPhone, maximum phone screen, etc., that might be a little heavy and a strain on the user's neck, but we support the iPhone 7, 8, and SE, which are very lightweight. The headset is actually counterbalanced with the battery on the back, so it serves to actually be a very comfortable experience. And that's the first part of your question. The second part is really the fact that we don't actually encourage users to wear this all day, and that's contrary to what you may assume. We'll get to a world in which the form factor looks like this, and I can wear this all day, and it's smart enough these glasses are smart enough and have the fidelity in the content to create a rich experience for you all day long, but we're just not there yet on so many levels. So we say, hey, this is a tool in your tool shed. This is a tool where if you need to use it, you go and you pick it up and you put it on and you run through an inspection with somebody remotely for 30 minutes, right? And then you put it back afterward and then someone else can pick it up and use it, right? That's the behavior that we sort of encourage our users to kind of dip their toe into augmented reality with. And so between these sort of 30-minute use cases, these 60-minute use cases, and the way we've selected the iPhone SKU and sort of counterweighted it, those two things combined really enable a comfortable and ergonomic experience for all of our users.
I appreciate the breakdown and the fact that you're not suggesting, hey, you're going to wear this 8 hours a day, because that could be someone thinking like, really, you want my workforce to have this on all the time? Right. Eventually, but not at where we're right now.
That's correct.
So, walking through those use cases again, okay, where does the value of augmented reality really shine in comparative to other solutions that exist and people are using right now?
Sure. So I'll give you an example. We have a customer that's headquartered in Australia. And right at the beginning of COVID, they actually had just finished a transaction purchasing a manufacturing facility in Peru. And typically what they'd have to do is they would need to send teams of people from Australia to Peru, and they need to do all sorts of things. They need to inspect the site and sort of make sure it's safe to use, that the machinery is all working, that everything is sort of compliant, right? And they need to run through these inspections. They need to document everything, and they need to sort of then go and replace machinery or upgrade machinery where they need to. And they also then need to, once they get through all the infrastructure, then they need to actually go and basically train these operators who were already hired by the previous company that they acquired the site from to say, hey, this is how you're going to run through these procedures. These are the new standards. This is how you do X, Y, and Z thing. And as you can imagine, that became quite literally impossible when COVID hit, right? And so what do you do in lieu of sending people on site? Well, you can try to use a FaceTime call. You can try to, take some pictures with your iPhone, maybe send some emails, but the sort of the throughput and the bandwidth of that knowledge transfer through those methods is so slim. It's like breathing through a straw. Especially when you're in an environment like this, it's dangerous. You have to remain hands-free and heads up. You have to have gloves on. You have to be using tools. You're hands-on with your work. It's not as easy as, hey, I'll just, FaceTime you and help me with my cable box. It's not quite like that, right? So the technology in this instance, they were able to actually ship devices to the site where the border was closed. They couldn't even send people outside if they wanted to. And in a matter of just a day or so, they were able to basically put this device on the heads of those operators and run through all of the site inspections, all of the troubleshooting, all of the commissioning, all of the training. They were able to conduct that in such an effective way, live, remotely, with groups of people on either end, in a way that wouldn't be possible with any other technology, right?
We're going into an era because of the pandemic that digitization or even telepresence concepts are being used in every possible case. But I'm curious your take on the future. You feel bullish strong that remote support, remote connections not going to go away even after the pandemic. God willing, that is now everything's going the right way. That people aren't going to just go back to, I'll just come out and see you in person.
That's a great question. And I think the answer is there will be a balance, right? Right now, we're a bit over-indexed on doing things remotely, right? I've been working out of my home office for a year, and I too am looking forward to a day where I walk back into our office and I'm able to greet our teammates in person. And that's something that I think a lot of us are craving. And I think we'll have a light elastic effect where we've been sort of stretched to be sort of remote and not that social, and we'll kind of snap and be kind of social again, maybe overly social for a bit. But that being said, there's still going to be a lot of permanent behavior changes, right? Our company, for example, which is very much a white collar workforce type company, we're working behind desks. We will definitely enable a much higher degree of work from home, of calling in via Zoom. Sometimes you come in the office, sometimes you don't. Maybe we go across different cities. These are all the types of behaviors that are here to stay. It won't be 100% remote all of the time. And that sort of sentiment that you and I probably know and understand as we're sitting behind Zoom at our desks, that's going to be understood, and it's going to be a permanent behavior change in these environments I'm referring to as well, where, sometimes maybe you're just an hour away by van. It's just easier to come on site and fix something, and that's totally fine. But when you're talking about days and weeks of international travel and coordination, where the downtime that's occurring in the interim is costing you $10,000 for every waking hour, 24 hours a day until this problem gets fixed, you don't have the luxury of waiting, right? And a lot of those instances, are very prevalent, right? So in terms of will there be some correction, and will some things, stay remote? Will some things go back to being in person? Absolutely. But will there still be a key set of use cases and circumstances that must remain remote? Absolutely as well. And that's where technology really fits in.
The other use cases for augmented reality and your solution, Mira, aside from remote connect so someone can see and provide tips, go here, click that, whatever, press that. What other use cases are you using and is being used, and do you see it being used?
Certainly. So right now we're very much focused on that kind of live collaboration piece and enabling sort of, again, that throughput of knowledge from point A to point B in the most effective way possible. Now that pipe is sort of open, right, and information can kind of flow back and forth between the site and headquarters, or the site and the original equipment manufacturer who makes the machines in the first place. We set up that pipe through this live connectivity feature. There's different types of information that we're already enabling to flow through that pipe as well. So for example, if you're headquartered in Australia, I'll go back to that example, you can actually create a new set of work instructions and publish them to every site you have all around the world. There's customers 400 of these sites. And so if you have a new sort of compliance-driven procedure that needs to be adopted rapidly overnight, well, all of a sudden you can author it in our workflow engine, and then with the click of a button, distribute it around the world to every node in your network, and have the devices serve as workflow guidance and data capture tools. So these operators can put the device on, get step-by-step guidance without somebody on the other end, but get actual sort of augmented guidance as they're going through these procedures. And the camera will capture all of this rich data along the way. It knows how long you're taking on every step. It can take photos of every step, and it can report all of that data back into the platform. So you, as a supervisor and executive who cares dearly about the safety of all 5 to 10,000 of your employees around the world, you now have oversight to have the confidence right? And the certainty that things are getting done correctly, and you can enforce that in a way that you couldn't before by using more of this kind of workflow piece to go back and forth between the sites, right? That's a second use case that we're really deeply focused on implementing with some of our more mature customers right now.
Speaking just for a moment to the more technical side, for those that enjoy the technology, the tech stack itself, have you guys built from this, the AR capability from using existing open source options? Have you built it up from scratch? Like, just tell me a bit more of how you built this and developed this.
Yeah, so the AR piece specifically, we developed a program called Unity. It's a game engine that has been that's really opened up the door for AR and VR developers to create experiences in a really good way. So we use the Unity engine to design our in-headset experience. And right now that in-headset experience is what's called 3 degrees of freedom, meaning you can sort of move your head around and things will stay fixed around you. If you walk forward, those panels will move with you at a fixed distance. So you kind of have this orb of information around you, and that's really what we've designed. It's not yet at the level where you can sort of look at a machine and it'll sort of automatically overlay precise holograms over each component. That's sort of a futuristic facing thing. Some technologies cut out to do that. We're focused on more that heads-free, heads-up and hands-free computing rather. So we designed the application in Unity, and then our web platform is all built on top of Node.js. So we have our own stack across the board, where we just switched to a scalable kind of calling infrastructure that powers our live collaboration piece, known as TalkBox. We're excited to partner with them as our infrastructure is now required to support global calls all of the time. It's an exciting place to be in. But that's a little bit about our tech stack.
That's really helpful. And knowing that it's like using the existing technology everywhere, it is moving forward, because Unity is developing so many new cool options and AR capabilities and gaming and interfaces, but now being able to use in the workforce. And I appreciate your approach of it's only 3 degrees of operations, but you have the ability to expand in the future. The way you've built your system that, okay, just upgrade the phone, or potentially some of the software, then they can have that next level up later, right? Is that the approach?
Definitely. Yeah, as the phones upgrade, and specifically, you nailed it by mentioning the software specifically, right? We've created a hardware foundation, right? A pipeline, right? Where now that we have a camera on the side of your head and we have a computer, that's sponsored by the phone rather, inside of the headset, that sets us up for a really rich future of capabilities, where now that we have the real estate and the computing capability to have a camera on the side of the headset, what more can we do? We can add infrared sensors, right? We can add a flashlight that's voice automated, right? There's so many things we can do with the hardware. And then in terms of the software, that camera, from a software perspective, will get more and more intelligent over time. And what I mean by that is, I was describing a use case to you just now where you have the headset guiding you through a particular inspection, for example, right? Well, if that camera can actually watch you do that inspection, say 100 times, it could be intelligent enough to actually start to understand what that procedure looks like. And for everything that was marked correct or incorrect, it starts to learn. And then maybe the 101st time you run through that procedure, it goes, hey, you just turn the valve to the left, but in the other 100 run-throughs, you turn to the right, and it can flag that automatically, right? And that's the sort of software intelligence that we've set ourselves up for in the way we've architected our whole hardware software system. And we'll be adding that intelligence to the system over time to create an even safer and more intelligent layer of protection for these frontline workers.
So being able to have that machine vision understanding to be able to look at what's going on, you're building that as the future because you have the data input, but having the existing solution is focused on right now is that more live collaboration, being able to see the digital elements on top of what they need to be doing.
Exactly.
I dig it. So for kind of the business leaders out there and they're looking at all these options, if you had to share a word of wisdom on the future of deskless workers who are out in the space, they need to be hands-free and using technology, what kind of word of wisdom would you be sharing?
I would tell them that there is certainly the future is now in some ways, right? I think a lot of the promise and a lot of when we think about this technology, we start to think about like Iron Man and Star Wars holograms and this future, which I'm more excited about than anybody, right? It's a ways away. And I think that if we adjust the expectations of what's possible today, you can sort of very quickly see that there are a lot of really strong and tangible benefits in the near term that technology like ours can really help enable quickly. And it's a great first step into this world. And we'll take, step after step and put one foot after the other. And, in 5 years time and 10 years time, we'll get to that Iron Man future. I promise. I'm dedicated to making that future happen. But in the meantime, I would just encourage people to realize there is a more entry level form of this technology, a more low hanging fruit use case that's available right now that is so transformative and so impactful on your bottom line and your operations today. And that's a really good first step. And I would encourage people to really think about taking that first step and setting yourselves up for that future when it's ready.
I love the more pragmatic approach that technology is great and we're going to get to the Ironman, but there are solutions now that you can implement that it's not too futuristic that your workforce will be like, what is going on? Or it would kill your bottom line. Well, thank you so much, Ben, for this insight. For those that want to learn more, you should be able to go to mirareality.com. Yes. And be able to schedule a demo, kind of get some initial insights. And for those that want to hear more about the journey of building this firm, stick around for part 2 of our discussion. We'll get into the founder's journey. Thank you so much, Ben, for sharing your insight. Have you seen a company using AI, machine learning, or other technology to transform the way we live, work, and do business? Go to uptechreport.com and let us know.